I want to say something that I remember you teaching me, and I want you to comment on it.
Okay.
And you might not remember this, but it helped me. It changed my life. And you don't know this, but you saved my life. As you
Ooh.
know, no, I mean this. I'm very serious when I say this. So, as you know, I can't help it, but I was born hyper, the whole deal. So I'm at Dover, and you and I are sitting on pit wall, 1989, 1990, 91, somewhere in there. And you looked at me and you said, "Do you plan on racing for a long time?" And I said, "Yes." And you said, "Kenny, you got to calm down." Now, you might not remember that, but I remember it like yesterday. And I was probably venting to you that my car wasn't doing this
Right.
or that. When I look back on that time, I look, first of all, I look up to you because I think you're awesome. And you're a calm natured athlete. Where does that come from? And when you told me that, as you're thinking right now in your head, where did you come? Where did you come from? I mean, how did you grow up calm? And you know what I mean?
My dad built Natural Bridge Speedway in '67. Didn't know if you
Your
knew
dad
that.
built that
Yeah,
racetrack?
he sure did. He opened it in '67.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! This is a big story here now.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah. And I would witness as a little boy during the week the phone ringing off the wall at the house and people calling and just lambasting my dad, cussing and raising him. My dad he didn't hardly have a pot piss in either in those days, but he was able to make things work. Right. I would listen to people just lambast him all week long, competitors. And it still goes on today. Same deal. And I would go to the racetrack as a little boy. I'd watch guys down there. I mean, get in fights. I mean, not playing, not Mickey Mouse. I mean, fights. I'd watch all this stuff. And then when I started racing, I had to deal with that. I had to deal with that same stuff myself. And in the early days, it's kind of like Schrader told me one time. He said he told a guy that was mad at him, let's sit down and have a beer and drink, talk about it instead of fight. It's
Yeah,
much
right,
easier. Well,
right.
I came to that conclusion a lot earlier in life because some stuff I went through here locally early, with roughhousing or fighting and stuff that you learned, what it really meant to get in a fight. You got in a fight. It wasn't like you see now. It wasn't that. A fight then was a fight. I mean, you're
Yeah,
going
like
to
a
get,
man punching you in the
yeah,
face.
somebody's going to end up standing and some guy's not, right? And I witnessed that and a lot and went through a little bit of it. And, over a period of time. And I'll tell you something else that happened, Kenny, in 1980, whatever. We were at Martinsville. I didn't have for the big double hitter, the modified. I
Yep.
didn't have radios, right? I had wiring harness, but I didn't have radios. I just couldn't afford them. I went up to Richie Evans, the great Richie Evans, the Dale Earnhardt, Richie Petty of Northeast Racing, greatest that ever
Yes.
was, I guess, modified. I just went up to him and introduced myself. I said, "Rich, you don't know me." I said, "But I drive that 22 car with like in the Bush Series or whatever it was, late model. I guess it was Bush then. I don't have radios. Would you rent me your radios after the race Sunday?" And we talked for a little bit. I think it took him back. Anyhow, we ended up making a deal, right? So his races run first. It was over. We grab the radios, his crew guys, radio out of his car. I even used his helmet because the earpiece is made in the helmet. I put his sweaty asshole helmet on and run my race.
Oh gosh.
Yes, true story, true story. And the race is over. We run the race. I take my stuff back to Richie. I said, "Richie, here, I appreciate it. I'm so thankful. How much do I owe you?" And he looked at me and said, "Rick, I don't know. I've never rented radios before. I don't know what it's worth." I said, "Well, I'm not sure either. I mean, you just tell me and I'll pay you because I finished that day, so I had money, right?" And
Yeah.
we sat there, and he didn't know what to do. He finally said, "You gonna be here for the next race in the spring or the fall, whatever it was?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Meet me at the Dutch Inn on Saturday night. Buy me a beer. Let's call it even." Right?
Yes.
I'm like, it's like to me, it felt like being anointed by the Pope. At that,
Yeah. Oh,
this is
Richie
Richie Evans,
Evans.
dude. Yeah. We go back for that next race, and I'm standing on pit road. Then the modifieds are practicing, and we're on the back stretch. And I'm just watching them because we ain't been on the track yet. And I watch Richie come out of turn 2. I watch him go in turn 3. I see his left front wheel kick out, right? He locks up. He goes right into the wall.
Oh no. I know where you're going with this. I'm so sorry.
and we lost Richie.
Mm.
The one part of that story I forgot to tell you, when we were sitting there that morning before the race, I'm trying to joke with Richie a little bit. I say, Richie, I said, normally I'd bet on you to win this race day because you always win every time we come down here. I said, but my guy said they seen you being dragged out of the Dutch Inn this morning at 4:30 in the morning, right? Richie was a partier, right?
Yeah.
Richie loved to party. My guys, of course, evidently they were up too. They said, and I said, I don't know if you got drug out of you were drug out of the Dutch Inn at 4:30 this morning. You know what I mean, from partying. I don't know that I'll bet on you today. And he said something, and I gigged him a little more. And I think it irritated me. He finally looked at me and said, let me tell you something, boy. He said, you only hear a blink of an eye. He says, work hard, treat people right, and be happy. All right? I'm like, okay. When he hit that wall, Kenny, I was sitting there looking at it, and then when the rescue went there, and I remember Andy Hall come by me and said, we lost Richie, right? And I remember thinking, work hard, treat people right, and be happy, right?
Wow.
And I kind of accepted that mantra, you might say, and it changed how I started looking at things and doing things. Right? It made me, I guess, it made me realize, there's a little bit bigger picture than this last lap we just ran, and what the car is doing, which leads into your deal, right? You get so wrapped up in that moment of what you're doing, you're just like, I mean, the deal, Kenny, in NASCAR, trying to get up through where any of this racing really down. But I mean, you're like trying to put out the hells of fire, or the fire of hells with a squirt gun. You know what I mean? And sometimes you need divine intervention to help you. When you came to me with that, right?
Yeah, right.
That day, you were, and you brought this up to me before years ago. Then that made me remember back to it.
Yep.
And that's how I'm still able to remember. If you hadn't brought that up a few years ago, I probably forgot about it. But the deal was, Kenny, I would help anybody do anything, but if there's somebody I didn't really care for, I didn't do anything, right? I'd be cordial, nice, but you were one of those guys. I mean, I watched you when you came in. Oh hell, here's Rusty Wallace's brother, right? Hell, he'll be like the rest of these guys they had to fight with, right?
Yeah.
And it became apparent very soon that Rusty was making Kenny Wallace earn this on his own. You know what I mean?
I did everything myself with David Ift.
The name can help you get there a little bit. But when you're there, you better do your own deal, man, or your ass gonna get kicked out. And I watched you, and I was around you, and I was around Raquel, Kim, and you're one of those guys that, and I'm better at this than I used to be. I used to be pretty good at, but I'm better now. I feel like I'm a good person, good at judging people's heart. I go off of people's heart, right? I don't give a damn what you say, what you do. I want to see what your inner being is, right? And you always come across to me as one of those guys that's just good-hearted son of a bitch, right? And I see so many guys in your position. I was in that position. I know exactly what you were feeling and what you were going through. But I wanted you to succeed, right? And in that moment when you were where you were at, and you're so encapsulated in that moment that you couldn't, release it enough to be able to make rational decisions. And that screws you up in racing, man. If you get tired, I've seen guys careers ruined. I can say names and you know them too, of getting in that mindset, and it completely screws them up, and they can't think about the bigger picture because all they're worried about is the last two races and the car's doing this and I can't fix it, right? Well, you got to get out of that a little bit. You know what I mean? And that's where you were at that point. And I was just trying to, just make you see a light. It's different. And you're not the only person that ever said that to something like that, do you? But maybe. But anyhow, that's the reason I did that. So
I love you. I love you. And I haven't told anybody I love him yet on the 32 episodes that we've done. And you saved my life that day.